Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Lori Pashota and I'm the Executive Director of the Mental Health Association. COVID-19 is a mental health crisis and we know that people are struggling right now. Many are home alone. The Mental Health Association wants to be of service to our community right now, so we are holding a series of free workshops throughout the month of May. We want to provide resources and information and hopefully inspiration as well. Parents are homeschooling right now, and some of those parents are new to homeschooling and are also juggling part-time or full-time work. I can't imagine how difficult that must be. And so that is what inspired me to reach out to today's special guest. We have with us today Marcia Sirois. Marcia is the PR director for ENRICHri, Rhode Island, which is the largest secular homeschooling organization in Rhode Island. They provide free monthly workshops called Intro to Homeschooling throughout the state. And you should know that Marcia has her master's degree in education, works as a full-time registered dietitian, and has been homeschooling for the past 6 years. And she has three sons. So she is an expert. I'm delighted to have you here today, Marcia. Thank you so much for joining us. And I turn the presentation over to you.
Thank you, Lori. And yes, thank you so much for hosting. This is a great topic and such a great idea to have a conversation about. So I do homeschool. I have 3 sons. My 2 oldest, I have twin boys who are 19. One of them does have autism, and he actually does really well, and he's in the public school system. So he has been in the public school system the entire time, and he's still in their life skills program. So I absolutely have experience with the schooling system. My other oldest one, we took out of school in the middle of 7th grade to homeschool, and we homeschooled him through the end of his school career, and he's doing well. And then I have a little one who's 6, almost 7, who we're homeschooling, and it is very busy. So I do have experience with schooling and homeschooling, and it's crazy times for all of us. So let's get going here. Let me try to pull up my presentation. Oh, and this should work. So, keeping kids interested and engaged with distance learning. So I do have some advice and tips and tricks to share with you all based on my experience with having kids at home and homeschooling and things that I know other parents have tried and that we've used. So hopefully you can find something here that's helpful. So, methods of distance learning. So you hear the word distance learning now all the time in the news. What does that mean? What's going on? Some districts, some schools, they're requiring all of it to be online. Kids are sitting in front of computers, just doing all of their schoolwork online. Some kids are doing online, plus having some paperwork, textbooks, worksheets, kind of a mix. And some students and schools, I'm not sure about Rhode Island, but in Massachusetts, I've heard just could not get the online portion up and going, and they're just all doing textbooks and worksheets at home. So it really varies by the grade, it varies by the town. I've heard some parents that have kindergartners that were in school, full-time kindergartning, and now they're just home, really kind of doing not much. So it's really different all over the place and all over the state. And distance learning sounds kind of wonderful, it sounds really nice, but honestly, some people are calling this crisis learning, and that we've all kind of been thrown into this emergency situation where teachers had very little amount of time to prepare. Students really didn't have any time to prepare, parents. It's really kind of an emergency situation, but teachers are really doing their best, and I see that every day. Is it the same as homeschooling, as the homeschooling community would think about it? Probably not. What's happening now with distance learning, there's really no choice for the parents, not a lot of choices for the teachers. They're not able to choose how they're learning, what they're learning. And with homeschooling, we do have most all of the control. We can choose how, when, what methods, what curriculum we're using. So it's definitely different. So parents and distance learning. So we're all stressed. Let's just get that out in the open. Stay-at-home parents, typically, they would get their kids up, off to school. They were home during the day, were able to get chores done, errands. Maybe they had babies or toddlers at home. And, you know, they kind of had their own routine. And now they've been thrust into this whole educational system, having their kids home, but trying to do work, schoolwork. It's crazy. You have experienced work from home parents who have been working from home for years. Again, we're used to having their kids out of the house and at school, so they had their school hours kind of to do their work. And now everyone's home, so that's disrupting. And then we have the new work from home parents. So parents that were used to working out in the workforce, out in the community, getting up, leaving the house, getting coffee, getting to work, talking with coworkers. You know, now they're home all the time, and they're not used to that. And that is stressful. You know, and now they also have their kids home with them, and maybe they didn't have a workspace set up at home because they weren't working from home. So everything is different, everything's changed. How have the family dynamics changed? I think it's really important to just acknowledge it and talk about it. Just get it out in the open. Talk about what's different and what's challenging and what are some things that you're struggling with. Let their teachers know your situation. If you're really struggling, if you have working from home, if you have conference calls from 10 to 11 every morning, you know, maybe let the teachers know, this is what's going on. I don't know what to do. Do you have suggestions? Really keep up your communication. And I think that would help. What is the goal for your child? So I think it's really good to kind of look at some positive aspects that's going to come out of this situation. You know, they're really learning to be independent, kind of doing some self-directed learning. They're building their self-confidence. They're knowing that, you know what, I can do this. This is new, this is challenging, but hopefully they're succeeding. They're having some little, you know, successes in their day. They're working on time management skills. They know that they are in charge of doing this or that, and they have to get stuff done, and there's timelines. Their communication skills are improving. It's a lot different being able to communicate online or on a computer or on a video than it is when you're in a classroom. So they're learning to, you know, watch for different kinds of cues, learning to wait their turn with talking. Maybe they're learning email for the first time and really kind of leaning into that. They're definitely becoming more technologically savvy, for sure. They're learning how to use Google Classroom, Google Meet. They're dealing with passwords and Wi-Fi and, you know, signing on, logging on, different kinds of laptops, computers, iPads, you know, and that's great. Good for them. And just an overall sense of responsibility. They're, you know, they're doing it. Somehow things are getting done. And now that they're home from school, you know, think about it. Are they less anxious? Are they sleeping better? What are some other positive things that are going on, you know, for your kids? I think that's good too to acknowledge. Just keep the bigger picture in mind. What is the goal for your family? So again, before I get into more kind of specific tips and tricks, kind of step back and think, you know, this is an unprecedented time for all of us. What will your children remember about this time? You know, 3 to 5 years from now, What are they going to look back and remember? I don't think they're going to know how stressed we were about trying to buy toilet paper, or the process it was for us to be able to go out and go food shopping. They're not seeing that side of it. Hopefully, they're going to have some really, different and really good memories. I know in my household, so, my little one, 3 or 5 years from now, he'll remember about the different masks that we had, and he thinks it's fun. And, he might come out once a week with us if I have to run to CVS or something, but, he puts it on and he sees other people with masks. So I think he'll remember that. We've been starting to do family dance parties at night. That was something new. We put on a couple songs before bedtime and we all get in the kitchen and dance around. So things like that. And my son and my husband have built planters in the backyard. They're building a big garden. So, it's not, besides the schooling aspect of this, just kind of step back and as a family, really kind of focus on your relationship with your children. You're really kind of given this time to be with them, and as stressful as that can be, kind of, focus on some different memories and different things you can do together. This next slide, it's a little bit blurry, but I thought it was important to put up. It's the average concentration span by age. So it's important to know and remember and think about certain ages, how long can they concentrate for? And if you're 8-year-old, if the school is asking them to sit on the computer for 2 or 3 hours at a time, I think they're probably going to get antsy, they're going to get fidgety, they're going to want to get up, they probably need a break. Really, it's not their fault, it's biological. They need to be kind of moving and have some time to break away for a little bit. So I wanted to put that up there just to kind of keep that in mind. So when I was thinking about this presentation, I thought about how to present some different things and what kind of patterns. So let's look at how, what, where, when, and why of distance learning. So some how-to tips for schooling. So first of all, definitely schedule your school for the day. So use a planner, use a whiteboard, posters hanging on the wall, write down times. When are they getting up? What time is breakfast? What time do they have to log on? Include your children in the process. Teens really should be involved in setting their own schedule. Hopefully for them that, they can do more of their learning later in the day, because of course a lot of teens like to sleep late. But include, also when you're planning your day, include time, okay, this is when we might do homework, or you have some workbooks to complete, or things like that. Plan frequent breaks. This is when we're gonna have snack time. This is, after you finish your math, this is when we're gonna go outside, or, have a little trampoline or something in your TV room that they can go jump on, have some sort of movement break. Maybe they can ride their bike for 10 minutes. Kind of keep them on track so it's a little bit better. They are so used to having schedules from being in school. The entire school day is scheduled down to the minute. So this is nothing new for them. They, probably do pretty well with the schedule. They're used to seeing it, and I think that would help. And fidget items, maybe some small toys that they can hold or kind of play with their hands while they're online or while they're looking at the computer. I think that helps for some kids. I know my younger one, if I'm reading to him or if we're talking about different topics, if he's building with Legos and not looking at me, but I know he still hears me and he's listening. So sometimes if they can keep their hands busy, they can focus a little bit longer. And if your child is really struggling with being online, maybe ask the teacher if they can shut off the video portion of it and just keep on the audio. Maybe they need to be standing, maybe they need to be, moving around, jumping, and they can't sit still, they can't focus, maybe it's distracting. Seeing all the kids on the computer at once. So just a few things to think about. Now, some how-to tips for work-at-home parents. So it's really hard if you're trying to work from home and then also parent at the same time. So really, for parents and as adults, also try to schedule your day and coordinate it with your child. When they have to log on and they're going to be doing some computer work, maybe that's when you can get some of your work done. Try to coordinate that you all have snack time together or lunchtime. Consider the rhythm of the house. So when is it busiest? When is a busy time of your house? When is it more quiet? When do you think is a better time that you could get work done? I put up here to use a timer. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how if say they have a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old at home and now they're trying to work from home, if they have a conference call that they need to be on, say for an hour, that they'll use a timer and they'll have 3 different activities, so 20 minutes for each. So 20 minutes for Legos, 20 minutes for playing on their iPad, and then maybe another 20 minutes for some sort of maybe crayons or markers or drawing or something else. And kids like to use timers. You can show them how it works. They can set it themselves. That might help too. And also, make sure there's a clock in the house that they can see. Sometimes the microwave works well. If they can read and understand a digital clock, and you could say to them, okay, it's 1:30 now. I have to do this. At 2:15, we're going to have a snack time together. It kind of gives them a little bit of control that they can look at and depend on. You can put charts on the wall, have some sort of reward checklist. Kids like to check off things as they go. They can have stickers. I got dressed, I had breakfast, I did my morning meeting for school, I did outside time today, whatever you decide to have on that, sometimes that helps kids as well. There's another thing in the homeschooling community called quiet time boxes or morning baskets. And if you Google those terms, you will find hundreds and hundreds of descriptions and pictures and images and websites devoted to that. So what those are, basically they're like shoebox size boxes or small baskets that the parent kind of prepares ahead of time. And it has little toys, it might have small books, puzzles, a little new set of Legos, or maybe some marbles or sorting items, just maybe 5 or 6 different things that it kind of gets put out and it's a new kind of thing. Maybe you have 7 of them, 1 for each day, and it just kind of keeps them busy for 30 to 40 minutes while you're doing something else. So look into those. There's a lot of good resources online for that as well. Audiobooks or kid-related podcasts. Again, if you're trying to work from home and you really need an hour to get some stuff done on the computer, if your kid will listen to an audiobook or a podcast while they're doing something else, maybe it gives them something to listen to. It might keep their interest for a while. And at the end of this, I do have some podcast-specific ones that I'll give you on a resource page. So what are they learning? So again, what choices do you have? What choices do the kids have? To keep them interested and engaged in learning, they have to have some sort of choice. Hopefully they can choose their own reading books. Maybe if they have to do some journaling, they can choose what ideas they want to write about. And honestly, I would ask their teachers, what do they need to know by the end of June? What do they really need to know going into their next year? So if they're really struggling right now with doing math online or really having a hard time with their math teacher, You could ask their teacher, okay, they're going to be going into 5th grade next year. What is it that you expect them to know? And if it's basically just their multiplication tables and whatever else, simple division, and you know in your heart that, okay, well, my kid knows those things. I'm not really going to stress about math right now. They can do what they can do, but I know they're going to know what they need to know. Again, and if your child is really struggling with a project or an assignment, maybe ask the teacher, what is it that you want them to know out of this assignment? What is important? So an example I was thinking of is like the history of Rhode Island. Maybe the teachers ask them to create a map of Rhode Island and maybe draw the path that Roger Williams took through the state or through New England and things like that. And really the teacher just wants them to know who was Roger Williams and how did he just, come to form Rhode Island. So if they are having trouble with doing the whole map and the assignment and things like that, but they can talk about Roger Williams for a few minutes, just really know what's important to learn. And is there a different way maybe to learn the material? If they're struggling with one way, is there a different way that they could work on that? Where is the learning environment? So this is another maybe better control that the parent would have for this part at least. Can you set up a dedicated space? Are there any options in your household, in your apartment, wherever you're doing the learning? Let them pick out some supplies, some cool pencils, notebooks. Maybe they need a new mouse for their computer. We still have 6 more weeks of this, so maybe have them order a few things on Amazon that they could use. It doesn't have to be at a table. They don't have to do learning at a desk. They can be on a couch. They can sit on the floor. They can build a pillow fort. They can sit in their bedroom. Where are they comfortable? Where would they learn best? And maybe it's just kind of a fun way to change it up. If they've been sitting at the kitchen table for the past month and a half, maybe tomorrow you say, hey, you know what? Let's go put some blankets and pillows down in the TV room and let's do your learning from there. Is there an outside space that you have that you still have access to Wi-Fi? Do you have a picnic table? Can you put up a tent in your backyard? Just some different things to think about. And if there's multiple kids at home, sometimes one of your children might be getting really distracted. It might be hard seeing their siblings do other things, do different kinds of work. Is there some sort of partition you can put up? Maybe some, poster board or something on the side? Do they really need to just focus on their own computer? Things like that. And one tip I would suggest is to really tidy up your school space when you're done. Pack up the books and the papers, put them away. You don't really want to just be seeing it all around the house. You don't want to be staring at it when you're preparing dinner or trying to have dinner and you've got to tidy up the kitchen table, or, you don't want to see, oh, I have to do that science stuff, and oh, I got that homework to do. Really give a separation. There's school time, schoolwork, and now we're home and we're going to do home stuff. We're going to play games, watch TV, whatever. So try to have a separation point. Timing factors. So when? Again, this might be more limited on your end as a parent. Hopefully, like I said, teens should be given some control. Can they learn later in the afternoon, evenings? Some homeschool families, they'll just set their teens up for the week and say, listen, by Friday, I need these assignments completed. I need you to read these chapters. And then they let their teen figure it out. And if they want to wait until Thursday or Friday and bust it all out, then, that's usually fine. But try to give the teenagers a little bit more control. For working parents, are weekends and evenings an option? Can you do some of that on off hours instead of, the typical school day? As a parent, don't feel like you have to replicate an 8 to 2 typical school day. Those hours, would include other things like lunchtime, library, recess, gym time, art class. There's a lot of other things involved in a typical school day at a school building that's not happening at home. So, what would take 6 hours for a school day for your kids to learn is probably going to take a lot less time to get that done at home. And most kids learn so much quicker one-on-one. On a one-on-one scenario, they can pick things up a lot easier than in a big group. And definitely give students the chance to move at their own pace, especially now that they're home and they're on the computer. Maybe they can go quicker or they need more time to learn something, but hopefully that's an option. So why or why not? Why bother with distance learning? Why is this happening? Really, children thrive with routine. They need consistency. They need dependability. The social aspect of doing these online classes, seeing their classmates, their teachers that they're used to, it kind of gives them, a sense of normalcy, as you hear often. It also gives them something to be in charge of and something to be in control of during this uncertain time. So we have such little control in everything else that's going on. But for your kids, that's one thing that's constant. Their distance learning, their morning meetings with their teachers, they're logging in. It just gives them a sense of schedule and predictability. And again, reach out to your school. I know personally teachers that are also struggling with this. They have their own kids at home, young kids that they're trying to figure out their own kids' distance learning with different school districts. They're trying to be on the computer to work on their classes and work, as their job. So it's just, everything is chaotic, and just let them know what's going on. If you need help with certain things, just really, really keep up communication. So a few resources I wanted to put out there that not everyone knows about. So the first one is outschool.com. And you might be wondering, why am I recommending other online classes? So this is more kind of fun and fluff and just exciting stuff. This website has hundreds, if not thousands, of classes available. They're usually live classes, so parents all over the world sign up, teachers sign up to teach. There is a small fee for each class. Usually it's about $8 an hour or so on average. And it can be about anything. I know my 6-year-old loves cats, and he took a class all about just cats. And it was how cats talk, how they communicate, how they like to live. There's classes on there about Star Wars, about sloths. I know one of my friends, her daughter loves sloths, and she found a class about that. Really, you can put in your child's age or their grade and just search from there. You can put in a topic, if they love trains, if they love dragons, if they want to learn about gardening, anything. It could be a one-time class, or it could be, say, every Tuesday for 5 weeks. Usually it's about a 45-minute to an hour class. And this also might give you some incentive, to schedule one of these outschool classes while you have to do something important for working from home as a parent. So, if your kid's going to be entertained about learning how to be a princess or learning about wizards for an hour, that gives you an hour to get some work done as well. There's also Quest Club, questclubs.com. So this is fun for families to sign up to do. And I would say it's on the line of kind of a scouting type thing, like a Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, but anyone can do it, any ages. And they have different topics that you can learn about. It's a little bit more educational. And then you can earn badges. You can send away for $1 and $2 to get little pins once they've achieved their badge. I know my son, he's done one about the autumn season. He did one about astronomy. You know, again, you can put in a topic that they're interested in, and it kind of gives them a checklist of things to learn or things to do. And then you can send away for a little their badge or a little pin. And they can have their own vest or kind of make their own sash that they can display their pins on. It's just something cute, something to keep them busy. And there's some examples of podcasts as well to look at. Story Pirates, Brains On, Wow in the World. I think that's put on by NPR, and that looks really fun. So there's some different ones there to try. All right, so that was the end of my official presentation. Let me try to, oh, how do I get back? Stop share. Oh, there we go. So I'll take any questions if anyone has any, or just if anyone wants to share any tricks or tips that they're doing at home that's helping. I know it's hard to really give you, you know, specifics because I don't, you know, every kid is so different, but we're kind of all figuring this out together. So anybody? No?
Marcia, that was a terrific presentation. I'm just so impressed. What a thoughtful, thorough presentation. I learned a lot. Does anyone in the audience have a question, comment, suggestion?
I have a question. So I'm kind of watching as a parent, but also I work in schools as a counselor. And so I signed up really for my students because they are so, I hate to use the word overwhelmed because it's really, it's used too much sometimes, but they are really overwhelmed with like, you know, the amount of work, because I think teachers are feeling pressured to give assignments, so that they said that they have like more than they would normally have because they have a lot of assignments from their itinerant teachers too that they just wouldn't normally have. And they're also getting so inundated by emails and different platforms that the teachers are teaching on, whether that be like Zoom and Google Meet and Google Classroom, and they're just having to check so many different platforms. So do you have any suggestions? Just given that you have teenagers doing it, and I have a 9-year-old at home, so I'm having trouble like kind of helping them through.
It definitely is overwhelming, and I do understand from a teacher's perspective, they're thinking, okay, well, I usually teach science for an hour. I have to make sure they have enough to do at home, but it's probably, you know, like you said, more than they're used to having. And I would really recommend, I don't know if students are using their own planners or their own type of calendar book, but really for space to write each day. I need to check my email at this time, you know, keep track of what classes, where they're supposed to be at what time. And if there's overwhelmed by the amount of work, maybe I would suggest to ask their, you know, history teacher, whoever, you know, is there something that I can kind of not do versus do, or what is really necessary, what's needed, what's going to be graded, you know, I don't know. It's so hard. It really is. But definitely, I think planners help, especially for teenagers.
I liked what you said too about some of them working, like wanting to work less, like all Thursday, Friday, and not, because I think that's something that's not acceptable to the teachers, you know, but would be so helpful because so many kids have different learning styles. And I understand why a teacher wouldn't find that acceptable, but I also know, you know, they have their own way sometimes, and if they're getting it done, then they're getting it done. But
absolutely,
I get that they're all, you know.
Oh, I think she jumped off by mistake, but yeah, if they can just figure out what work is due by the end of the week, and if the teachers can give them the option to, you know, by Friday, this is what I need handed in, this is what I need you to email me, and then just give them control over when they're going to do it and how. I think that would help.
I think she's back.
That's okay. I know I was really gearing this presentation towards parents, but like you had said, you're a parent, but then also a teacher or a counselor and working in the school system. And that has to be so difficult trying to keep track of both, because a lot of times where teachers teach might not always be where they live. So it's dealing with two different school districts. So that has to be challenging as well. I just, you know, I would really hope, you know, just again, don't be so hard on yourself as a parent. Don't think, oh my gosh, my child is going to fall behind. They're not going to make it into 7th grade next year and it's going to be awful. And I think come September, whether kids are back in school or continuing with distance learning, I think teachers are going to be much more prepared come September. They're going to have the summer to figure out what's going to happen, and they're definitely going to do a lot of review, I'm sure, for that first month. So don't worry. No worries.
Marcia, this is Jen. I think what you just said was really important when you said don't be hard on yourself. And I think that goes across the board for everybody in this whole situation. I think because there's just no roadmap for any of this and we're all trying to figure it out. So I think for the kids, it's really important. I think for us as adults, it's really important, no matter our situation, is just don't be hard on yourself. So I think that was a great point you made.
Thanks. It is. We're families first, I guess. And, you know, your kids need you as a parent first, then as your, you know, teacher. So just don't argue about math all day long, I guess.
Do we have any other questions, comments, tips, or resources that anyone would like to share? Well, thank you so much, Marcia. This was fantastic. I want to distribute this recording as widely as possible, and I encourage everyone here to distribute it as well. I think it could help a lot of parents. I do think parents are feeling a lot of pressure to, you know, get it right and do it the right way at home while, you know, juggling all of the housework and meals and maybe full-time or part-time jobs in addition to teaching their children. Oh, I have one question in the chat. Oh, the person is saying, thank you, this was so helpful, exclamation point.
That's good. Also, let me just add quick, I just was thinking of my own house. I've really kind of let go of my standards of trying to keep order, I guess I would say. So I've just accepted the fact that, you know, toys are going to be messy, the TV room is a mess, things are everywhere, and it's just, you know, again, kind of relax some of your expectations and what you're normally used to having in your home. You know, where the kids were at school, you could probably get some cleaning done, get some things done around the house, and now there's no break. So yeah, but thank you, Lori. I really appreciate you asking me to do this. I enjoy doing it. And again, people can visit our website. It's www.enrichri.org. We do have some resources there for homeschooling and just some different things, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marcia. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. To see our upcoming workshops, please go to mhari.org to see the full list of workshops on our homepage. We hope you'll join us again soon next week. And I wish everyone well. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.